Hey guys, this is Steve Haverly. Let's build our marriages up today. So how are we going to do that? Well, what I'd like to discuss with you today briefly is when your spouse is in a place where they're maybe needing some help. They're down, they're depressed, and maybe they're just discouraged with life or with the marriage or with their career or with their children, whatever it may be. And I've found that my wife and we're not usually down and discouraged both together. It's always one or the other of us. So this is something that married couples or people in long-term relationships are going to face on a regular basis. What do you do for your spouse? Well, I want to give you three analogies while we're here today. Some of the things to do and some of the things not to do that will help you out in the times when your spouse needs something and you don't exactly know what to do, or you don't know what not to do. Okay, so here's a little bit of something for you to think about. We need to be an anchor for our spouse in these times. Now, what does an anchor do? An anchor doesn't have a mouth. An anchor doesn't have a loudspeaker. An anchor doesn't have a sign on it. What does an anchor do? It's something strong and heavy that holds the ship in place. And that's what we need to be. When our spouse is down and they need support, they need to de-stress, they need something. We try to do all different kinds of things, but we need to be the anchor that holds our ship in place. It holds the marriage where it is, to give your spouse time to sort through whatever it is they're going through, okay? And the anchor doesn't do anything. You don't even see it. When the anchor is deployed and it's doing its job, it's invisible. It doesn't mean you don't speak. That doesn't mean you're not around. It just means that it's doing its job quietly, calmly, behind the scenes, letting the ship float about wherever it needs to float to, giving it the tether that it needs to float around. That's what you need to do with your spouse, is be an anchor. The second thing we need to not be is a megaphone. We need to not be a loudspeaker. We need to not be a voice too much in our spouse's life when they're going through something stressful. Sometimes the thing that you'll want to do the most is to give advice. And many times when your spouse is going through something stressful, they want for you to be a sounding board and not a megaphone, or not a speaker, not a loudspeaker. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They want you to be able to listen to what they have to say. So that one is one to not to be the speaker or the sound system or the megaphone that is heard loudly in their voice. They need someone that can hear them and vent and tell whatever it is that's burdensome to them and weighing on their mind. So we need to be an anchor. We don't need to be a loudspeaker. And finally, we need to be a pillar. Now, what does a pillar do? A pillar holds up whatever the structure is. A pillar is a piece of stalwart, strong structure in the marriage that is a benefit to the rest of the structure. It's a member that without it, the marriage would crumble. And it stands and it supports and it lifts up the heavy parts of the building. So we need to be a pillar for our spouse in the time when we're letting them go through something stressful. We need to be nearby. A pillar is usually visible. It's there so they can see us supporting, okay? So think about what these characteristics are today, and the next time your spouse is going through something, decide from this base of information what I need to be for my spouse. We need to be the pillar that's standing nearby, strong and holding them up. We need to not be the megaphone. We need to not be speaking and telling what to do and giving suggestions and information, because we're just going to overload them. And we need to be the anchor that's there quietly, keeping things in place, holding things together while they go through and surf on top of the rough seas while they're in the midst of it. think about these three things the next time you're going through something with your spouse. See what you can do differently than you've been doing. Okay? That's just a little something to think about. This is Steve Haverly. Let's go out and make our marriage as great as it can be today.